our market or our audience understand, all right, these guys are great at what they do. They're loyal. And, most of our clients have been with us for years and years and years. And they come back. And that just shows that what we do is hopefully better than everyone else. So that's our main marketing strategy. That's our messaging.
Welcome to the Creative and Code podcast.
Welcome to the internet, my friend.
Brought to you by ID Digital Agency.
Kind of a big deal.
Dive into the dynamic world of digital marketing, creative design, and coding with top experts, latest trends, and actionable insights. Let's get inspired and innovate together.
It's showtime.
Hello, welcome to Creative and Code.
You sound so upbeat, Emily.
I know, I don't know why I was so depressed as soon as I said that. Hello, welcome to Creative and Code, the podcast by ID Digital.
For creatives and coders. I'm Jay, this is
Emily.
And we don't have a guest today.
We don't.
No, we were meant to.
Straight up, just us.
Yeah, that's right. So in 2 weeks, I think he's going to be coming along, Anthony from Ignite Online. He's going to be joining us. He's another digital agency that works in this common space from the Collingwood office. So he went to school with me and we started up agencies together. It's going to be interesting to see how his journey's been different or same to what I've experienced in my 23 years of running this show.
We can get some dirt on you.
Oh, really? That's what you want?
I reckon that's going to be the questions.
I'll have to find. I know we can. Some of your friends that we know work for some of our clients. We'll get them involved. Get some dirt from Emily.
There's no dirt on me. I've never done anything shady.
How's the week been for you, Emily?
Busy.
Busier than normal, or?
I mean, probably normal amount of busy. There's just like lots of, I don't know, random bits happening and people requesting things last minute. And yeah, we have some clients that, kind of, because we tend to turn things around quite quickly when needed. Sometimes when you do that maybe once for a client, they think that that's the norm.
Maybe that's our problem. We're too good at delivering quickly.
Well, I think the problem is, like, a lot of the times when there's an urgent project, you go, okay, that we can do that, and you think it's going to be a one-off, but then the problem is they think that that's the normal way. So it's like, I feel like it's more just, telling clients, like, oh, by the way, that's not actually how we operate.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes, like, if you get things done pretty quickly, then the value is kind of minimized, or their perceived value of what you've done for them, whereas you've stopped everything, put the brake on, got 2 or 3 people onto something and got it done fast, and they're like, oh, that didn't take long.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't see all that.
And then next time they're like, why is it going to take that long? Last time it only took you a day. It's like, yeah, but I had all these people working on it. So I think it's kind of, we've had a few things like that pop up in the last few weeks, and certainly this week we've got like kind of a huge strategy we're doing for a campaign that the shoot day is in 10 days and the strategy hasn't been decided. So it's things like that where you're kind of like, we need to actually,
Because we had that strategy done last week, and then they came back to us and said, we like this bit and merged them together. We did that.
And
they're like, we actually like the first bit first.
And so now it's like going, like pedaling back, and then they're like, but this bit you presented in the last strategy meeting, it doesn't align with strategy 1. And it's like, well, because it wasn't for strategy 1. It's kind of a bit all over the shop, but when you're kind of working on those tight deadlines, like that kind of back and forth, like that's completely normal in this kind of campaign development things, but it's more just when you have those tight deadlines, you're like, we don't have time to be like revising.
Exactly.
And so it can be
and those types of things
hard.
too, where they want to jump ahead and start to, we need to visualize it, we need to see examples, and you're like, no,
we need
the strategy is the important part, you need to lock that down.
And I think it can be hard also, like certainly with when you're having different agencies and different people working on different elements of projects, like especially with a kind of a campaign like this one that's quite massive, there's a few different people working on different elements of it, but it's hard to like draw the line as to where like our role kind of stops. Like if you're doing the strategy but you're not doing the visuals and you're not doing like any like print stuff or whatever, like, where does that part like form part of our consideration and the strategy? And it's like, how far do you go with it? And it can be quite a hard one, I think, to figure out.
Exactly.
Draw the line in the sand.
Yeah, I think when we put this together, we had 3 different budget points, the good, better, best, and I think they went for the middle. So that's where we've got to not only play at that level, not go lower, not go higher. We've just got to make sure we give the value that we've promised, and not undersell, over deliver.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's always an interesting day.
Yeah, it's been certainly an interesting project, and Yeah.
Yeah, there's some interesting, awesome things that could happen so long as they do get executed properly. And so, and there's a lot of players involved. So.
Yeah, exactly. And you do kind of run the risk when you have like, especially on our side when we're doing the strategy rather than actually kind of executing the entire campaign. Yeah, it's a bit hard to kind of stomach that you have all these amazing ideas and then we have absolutely no control whether they come to fruition. Like that's not on us at all.
It's almost like the in-house team want to do the creative and to kind of take over from that strategy. And I understand why, like if they've got the resources.
Yeah, it makes sense, yeah.
But I don't think you're going to get as good at, like your in-house capabilities, skills, knowledge and experience is that of 2 people in this particular one versus a team of 10 or with
there's so
years
much
and years
more and I guess that's the problem if you're kind of also already reaching out to different agencies for various different things for the campaign, including us for strategy, you know, how much of that, you know, would you really be able to do in-house? And it becomes a little bit complicated when you've kind of got to at some point like put your hands off and be like, okay, I've done my bit. Like how it actually plays out from now is not my problem, but as a marketer, I'm like, I just want to like control it all and make it happen.
I'm the same.
And,
like in the meeting yesterday, I was thinking, I could easily go down to that particular location and take my cameras and get it shot.
That's the thing.
But I've got to go, no, they haven't paid for that, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it hard, is that you can't, because I think we're so used to just like getting on it and being able to just like do things on the fly and like say we'll just go down there and do that and but it's hard when you can't and you're like, well, you could do this, but that's on you. Like,
And I think that'll stem into a couple of questions I've got. So rather than a guest being as part of this podcast episode, we're going to do some hard-hitting questions to each other. I've prepared some questions. You might have some as well. Maybe. We'll see what happens. But let's get into the news.
Good news, everyone.
Uh-oh, I don't like the sound of that.
This is the way.
News, everyone. Did that sound like it?
That did sound like it.
News. What's in the news, Emily?
Well, I just Googled code news.
Thanks for letting people know how we do what we do.
But one of the interesting things that came up is thinking about a Chemist Warehouse is starting to change their payment systems. So now you can pay via QR code, something along those lines?
Yeah, I read about this a couple of days ago, and apparently Chemist Warehouse, through their existing FPOS credit card processing, you know, when you tap and all that kind of stuff, out of all their stores, I think it's about $8 million worth of credit card surcharges that they have to pay to the credit card companies or the issuer. And that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And I think everyone, like obviously then, I don't think they on-sell those surcharges to their customers. Knowing their customers, they would go mental if they did that.
But there's still, I don't know, maybe it's not Chemist Warehouse, but certainly other businesses.
For sure, lots of cafes, restaurants.
Right. Yeah.
I saw as well, there's a weekday and weekend surcharge at some of them now.
Constantly, yeah.
And if it's a public holiday. And so it's just
getting insane.
Yeah. And even tips are becoming a lot more.
Yeah.
Like, I feel the pressure sometimes. They put it in front of you and it says tip, and you have to press no thanks in front of the person that served you, and you feel bad.
I'm like, we don't have a tipping culture here. I refuse to get into it. Yeah.
But it seems like the hospitality industry are trying to bring that in quite aggressively.
But also I feel like, just a side note to this, but I feel like in America, you generally know that if you're giving a tip to like a waitress, that she's getting the tip.
And because they're paid very low as well.
Yeah, exactly. But at least like it's more clear. Whereas here, if I'm putting a tip on like an FPOS machine, I don't know who that's going to. I don't know where that's even ending up.
Point.
So I'm not, even if my waitress gave really good like whatever, I'm not going to give her $10 because it might not even be going to her because they don't legally have to provide that money to the waitress. Yeah. Anyway.
Good idea. But going back to Chemist Warehouse. So Chemist Warehouse if you check it out on the news as well, just type out Chemist Warehouse QR codes, you'll find that they're looking to introduce QR code payments. So basically, I think on your phone, you scan your own products and then you purchase it using this QR code, which could be quite interesting. And then it just uses your debit card or your BSB and account number to make the purchase. So it's going to be interesting to see how that flow goes through traffic. So are you going to show your phone, show you what you've purchased and it's gone green tick and out you go?
I'm not sure.
Are people going to like screenshot that, go back in again?
Yeah, how is that going to impact? Because especially Chemist Warehouse, they tend to have like the security guy at the door.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that starts to impact. Yeah.
And I think what that means is that if obviously you pay by BSB and account number, that it is a transaction fee a fee-free
Fee-free.
transaction.
Yeah.
And yeah, everyone's up for that, but it's also $8 million of savings. How much is that going to actually cost to implement? And all the probably the thefts or the incorrect use of it, and the training and the help, and
I don't think, like, what are they going to start putting surcharges on card payments now that they've got this new system to avoid them? So I wonder if people will actually take it up to do that, or people will just go, well, you know what, I pay a surcharge literally everywhere else. Like,
Exactly.
who cares? Like, I'm just going to pay the 2% or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
and you likely find online stores don't have a surcharge on them for purchasing products. They might have a delivery fee, and that might be in it as well. And the government has started to clamp down. They've started to investigate credit card surcharges and all these little surcharges. And I think they're trying to abolish surcharges. You won't be able to do it.
I mean, that would be good because, like you say, when it gets to things like cafes, like if you go to a cafe on a Sunday on a public holiday or something like that, like you've got like 30% of extra surcharges like stacked on.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think it's just really the surcharges of credit cards, not if they want to put on like a surcharge.
Yeah.
For just being a Sunday or whatever they want.
That's true.
But I think it's a good direction, and it means as well a lot of other companies that maybe do QR codes or do BSB account payments might benefit from it too. So who knows? It could be
I'm
cool.
not sure if it'll be something that will be implemented. I feel like QR codes, people are more used to using them now because of the pandemic, and we had the whole checking in system. But even then, people didn't like it, and a lot of people, you know, don't know how to use their smartphones to do that. Like I know, like older people had a lot of trouble with it. And I feel like it annoyed people so much that I think, like, I am almost reluctant to use QR codes because I'm sick of using them. Like, I think I would be...
But they're so good. You can put a little character or personalise it,
I
colour
know,
it.
but I feel like with something like this, I'm like, if I just want to go in there and I'm buying something for like $10, I do not care enough to have to scan a QR code, do this, it's too much effort. I just tap my phone, let's go. Like, I feel like it's something that probably their heart is in the right well, it's not their heart, it's their bottom line is in the right place in terms of getting rid of those surcharges for people. But I don't feel like in practice it'll actually be implemented as successfully as they think.
When I was in New York, I think it was about 10 years ago, and I was in one of the subways, and all these people are like having their phones up in the sky, looking at the billboards on the other side of where the train normally goes. And I'm like, what are they doing? And you could see little QR codes. And what it was one of their shopping centres, or like a supermarket, and they had all these products on a banner, and every single product had a QR code. And they were going in, pinching and zooming to scan the QR code. And what they were doing is doing their shopping while they're waiting for the train. It's pretty cool.
But
so
why would
all the
you,
essential items are on this billboard.
If you see
scan, add quantity, check out.
It makes why would, if I see a billboard and it's got like, I don't know, Coles cookie on it, like why wouldn't
scan it? I want it.
Yeah, why would I just Google Coles cookie? Like, why go to the
scan will be seconds versus
I don't feel
Coles
like
cookie.
that's going to be faster. I feel like in that situation, I would prefer to do it myself. I don't know what they're tracking with me by scanning that QR code.
Yeah,
Maybe
they kind of know where you are probably too.
Well, that's the thing. They know that I've seen that specific billboard because it's probably got like a UTM attached to it.
And they know the time.
So yeah, exactly. They know the time. They know exactly what I've done. They know what train I'm getting on because they know what platforms it's on. I feel like that's shady. Like, obviously that's great for their marketing team, but from me to do that as a consumer.
So you're more aware of what behind the scenes.
Yeah, I know what people are doing with that data.
Yeah,
I know somebody in the Coles marketing team is, you know, making some sort of graph out of what train I'm getting on and how that coincides to my Coles buying habits. Suspicious.
The QR codes everywhere. So I think fair enough that they're trying it, and potentially it might be just a newsworthy story. So that they've got their brand out there. But I think, there's a lot going on with surcharges.
Well, I think it'd be more interesting to see how it's kind of implemented across the industry and what that means for, all different businesses and, things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
What else we got?
That was it.
That's all the news. Well,
there must be something else that we spoke about.
We're about 15 minutes in. So let's go. I reckon we can do our hard-hitting questions.
You want to do hard-hitting questions?
Yeah, let's do that. All right, hard-hitting, here we go. And what we're wanting to do here is some hard questions that are a little bit hard to answer, a little bit, might be opinionated.
Wait for me?
I want to really see what you come out with here. It gives people an opportunity to think about it themselves. So, number one, is social media still worth the investment for brands, or is it becoming oversaturated?
I mean, that's a hard-hitting question. I'll say that. Yeah. Look, it's still worth the investment, but it's a different landscape than what you would expect 10 years ago. Because I feel like a lot of people are still in that mindset of 10 years ago, like, we post on Instagram, we go viral, like, profit. Like, that's not really how it works now. It's more about, you know, building your community, like keeping up with your followers and like just trying to, you know, you're not going to see monumental gains. I feel like because people understand now that Instagram and things like that are like very oversaturated with brands. People who have kind of gone in the other direction, they're a little bit like anxious to follow people who aren't, you know, I feel like aggressively professional. You know?
I think you're right. It's a long burn approach now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, let's say one of the banks that we do, Summerland Bank, we've been working with them for a year or so now and doing their social media. And you do find with any new campaign or any new post, especially if it's brand new and it's all new colours and new whatever, people are like, do I trust that? Who are they? And is this correct? And there's a lot of like doubt. But then once you start posting consistently and you're telling a story and you're giving them value, they'll start to go, oh, okay, I get it. And then they become more loyal and they become more focused and then they start to convert. So that's that long burn.
I do also feel like a lot, especially with kind of depending on your industry. So if some industry you'll follow brands even if you don't purchase from them or you don't, it's like you're, you know, earlier in the kind of funnel, you'll still be following them. But I feel like with some industries, like namely something like banking, do you really have much reason to follow a bank that you don't already bank with? Like that's the aim, is to get people to do that and to provide some value to them. But I feel like we kind of see that a lot of like the followers and people who are actively engaged in the community are current customers. And I think that's kind of something that's overlooked almost in social strategy. It's all about getting new people and getting new followers and getting viral or whatever. But it's like, what about your current community? What about the people who are actually engaged and who you're communicating to? And you have this great channel where you can tell them anything you want and they'll be engaged. And it's kind of a little bit overlooked. That kind of, you know, targeting your existing customers. So I think that's something that probably needs a little bit more focus now that obviously the landscape of social has changed so much and there's just so much noise. Like if you just focus on like the people you've got and then use that as the basis to kind of grow, I think that's a much better approach.
I think too, like with most companies that are new or they haven't got an Instagram strategy or a social strategy for that matter, making sure you understand what you're wanting to get out of the platform too and who you want to target is the most important thing. And really focusing in on that, because if you're just going out and trying to go viral and you're doing things that aren't part of your brand or your story, it's not going to do anything good for you. You might get a lot of views, but it's not going to get a lot of conversion.
Well, that's the thing. It's all, you really have to define that strategy. And I think the problem is now you have to define your strategy no matter what you are. Even if you're all like just an influencer, you have to have a strategy. Like there's just no way to kind of organically do whatever and then just go viral for no reason. Like it just doesn't really happen. But that's more of like a meta focus. I think TikTok is its own beast that we kind of, we're still not even further enough into it being a major player that to know everything there is to know.
I think like in some ways Meta is trying to be that family-friendly platform that anyone will be on, whereas like TikTok seems to be now a bit of a cesspool of crazy, stupid, over-the-top kind of stuff that's happening. And that's why I watch it. I want to see all the weird things.
And that's the thing. TikTok, it just doesn't... Like, there is a huge advertising potential on TikTok, but there's no traditional advertising. Like, you can put in an ad on there that looks like an ad, but you're not going to get anything with it.
And you can tell. If it's polished, flick.
Yeah, exactly. So it needs to be... You need to have the organic content being turned into ads on that. So there's no other way. Whereas Meta, I think people do kind of discount it and be like, well, nobody uses Facebook anymore. Nobody uses Instagram. But, like, people do. That's where the majority of the audiences are for social in terms of at least like our area and in Australia.
And you'll find like most of the big brands are on TikTok, but they're not doing it the old way of creating these amazing campaigns. No. It's just someone wearing their shoes, if it's Nike, or someone that's just achieved. And so it's value, it's storytelling that's really doing well.
That's a completely different... I feel like that's also the issue now is people kind of look at social media as like social media, but like now it's in such distinct parts. Shorts. You cannot do the same for all of them. Like TikTok is its own thing. Like it cannot be anywhere near what you're doing for like Facebook, Instagram. It needs to be completely separate. And I think that's kind of where, I mean, certainly with the capability of some internal teams, like if you have one social media person per brand, like they don't have the capability to do everything they need to do between all the platforms they have now. So,
and that comes back to what we were talking about earlier with this campaign that we're running. Theirs is going to be quite, 30-second, 15-second, 5-second kind of videos that are going to be very scripted, but quite raw in terms of their photography style. That won't even suit TikTok, from what I reckon.
No.
It'll be the behind the scenes, the how-tos, the things of value, and the things that are going to get reactive. Like get the reaction versus it being informational, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the thing is, those people who are watching TikTok, they're consuming your ads in different placements. Like you don't have to put it on TikTok for those users to see your ad. Like they're also watching YouTube. Yeah. They're watching, on demand, The Bachelor or whatever. Like, they're watching other stuff that you can target them, because I think it's kind of small-minded to think, okay, well, we're targeting 24-year-olds and they're on TikTok, so we have to go on TikTok. It's like, well, you don't necessarily need to do that. You just need to have a more refined strategy. And an understanding of your audience. What you're actually doing. Yeah.
That brings us into my next question. We'll do 3 each, I reckon. Okay. So how do you balance authenticity and the need for polished branding? So that really goes back to what we were saying before, is if you do have a company that has a particular, image and they want it to be quite polished, but the social platforms really are responding to authentic, raw, unpolished kind of content. How do you see that playing?
It's like leveraging the different kind of technical elements is actually more what this relies on. So if you had a video of someone, like for instance for a bank, you're explaining what a term deposit is. On Instagram, or Facebook, you might have like a more polished video. They're sitting down, they've got graphics, they've got various things, whatever. It's like a bit more polished, might be what you actually use for your website or campaign. But then on TikTok, in order to make it unpolished, but then still have it be really professional and neat and polished or whatever, you just have the exact same video, but it's filmed on an iPhone camera. You change your graphics, you change the language a little bit, but all the messages are all the same. That's it. Like, that's all you need to do to kind of make it suit the platform and be a bit more transparent and get that less polished look, but you don't actually compromise on your content or your brand.
It's almost like you start rolling the iPhone version of it 10 seconds before the polished version, and you keep it running afterwards. So you get those kind of raw emotions, or that was a great shot, or I should have said this. And that's, I think, if you can start to use TikTok as a bend to show what happens around the polished format, I think that would work really well too. And
I think there is still opportunity to have kind of, like there is content on TikTok that isn't just like crazy content, and some people are consuming it. It's more just things like that, like you say, just like having it be a bit more natural, a little bit less, stiff. That's all you need to just, and especially, also the thing with that is as long as you've got like that first few seconds, like a hook to get them to stay, you can kind of do whatever you want with the rest of the video, because they're going to watch most of it if they're getting valuable content in that first couple of seconds. So as long as you kind of sort that bit out, you can keep your brand and you can keep yourself be really polished on TikTok.
Such insights, Emily. I'm liking it. Okay, I've got one for you. What's the role of influencer marketing in the current digital landscape? Is it still effective, or are audiences becoming desensitized? You can detect an influencer from a mile away, I reckon, now.
Oh, yeah. The thing is, I think also, this is another thing, people, when you say influencer, you know exactly what comes to your head. You think of, like Love Island kind of people, like if that makes sense.
Aussie short.
Like that kind of person is your influencer, but like that is not necessarily what you mean. Like when we're talking about like a hardware brand that we kind of work with that does cleaning products, the kind of influencers they work with are more micro influencers, and it's just like a regular mum who posts like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I like look at the mess my kid made, but hey, I'm using this product, and it's like, that's not your traditional influencer where you think that, it's, very overdone and like Love Island-y and like, you can have
different types of influencers probably. So you've got those that you're talking about that are just promoting a product without a story, and I use this on my eyes and it makes me feel great. Yeah. That's one. And then you've got I guess it's probably based on age group or even target market
Yeah.
there. But then you've got the one that is actively using these products or they're asking to, and they go to a great length to explain how they use it and how it's good for other people that are like them.
Yeah.
And it's more sincere and more honest, whereas the other ones, you can just tell if it's a Kim Kardashian and she's just, she's...
Well, exactly.
Or even Taylor Swift and she's wearing...
Yeah.
And then you get these businesses that have just realised that Taylor Swift wore their hat. And, oh, my God, she wore my hat.
Yeah.
And then they get tons of orders.
Well, that's it.
But it's a one-off too.
Completely different.
The problem with that
vibe.
is that, you might start selling hundreds and hundreds of these hats or whatever it might be, but it's only going to be 5 days or whatever. It'll go away. That's where you need to get that story. And I think that Hop Tour, everyone knows who she is.
Yeah.
She's stretching out that 15 minutes of fame like you wouldn't believe.
She's done, look, I'll give
She's
that to
done
her.
really well.
She's done an incredible job at stretching a viral meme into a career.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has done that to that level.
She's
I'm
almost been
very
on all
impressed.
major podcasts.
Yeah, she's
and
got her own podcast. She's
yeah,
got like all these amazing
merch.
guests. Like, look, I'll give that to her. She's done a great job.
And that's where, I think because everyone's understood her story and because she didn't go out and actively promote herself when that meme came out, I think she waited a couple of weeks. Everyone was like, where is she?
And
We're trying to find her.
Exactly. She appeared at some like festival and then it just like kicked off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all
And she's
power
been
to
everywhere
her.
now.
Yeah.
She's been Matt Rife, a comedian over there, and I think she's just on a bit of a tour selling a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, well, that's it. I guess that's the time to capitalise.
Yeah.
So yeah, good on
But
her.
I guess like as an influencer, she is an influencer in people going, because of her, other influencers or other people have tried to emulate what she did. Just right moment, right time, right context, right thing to say. And that's very hard to do as an influencer.
Oh yeah, it's impossible. Like you never know what the culture's going to grab onto.
Yeah.
It's impossible to know. But I think it is interesting how many different kinds of influencers there are. Like someone like her is completely different to a Kim Kardashian type. Just because targeting someone like that's crazy rich, like Taylor Swift or whatever, like they're not using some cleaning product. Like that. Whereas if you see Taylor Swift wearing a hat, you're like, well, she's wearing that hat. She's obviously using it. She's wearing it, It's a completely different
do you think,
style
like,
of using an influencer.
Do you think she's got a room of stuff that has just been sent to her and she just looks through it before she
Probably.
leaves and goes, oh, that's a nice hat, chucks it on?
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? There's like so many different ways. Like I don't even know the half of how she could get the stuff
What
she
about
gets.
the beads or whatever that everyone wears?
The
When they
bracelets?
the bracelets.
Yeah.
How did that start? Do you know?
It's because she has a song that says about make the friendship bracelets.
And that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's an influencer.
That's an influencer, Taylor Swift.
That's on the very, very
Yeah,
high
that's
ends
on
of an
next
influencer.
level.
And like,
But,
there are different types.
yeah.
Like there's electric gadget influencers. One of my mates, Danny Black, he's one of those, and he does really well. And just a side note, all he does is he creates reviews of products on Amazon. Those videos go on Amazon. If someone watches his video and then they purchase the product, he gets a kickback.
That's good.
And he makes bucket loads
Oh, yeah,
from that.
he would.
You would not, it's like 10% commission or something. And if he's got a good product
10%.
there,
I
if it's
mean-
like a video camera, some security monitoring
yeah.
system that could be $1,000, he's making $100 per sale.
See, that's great. And the thing is with that, you already have the purchase intent because if someone's reading reviews and they're watching that video, they're already like
Interested in
80%
that
of the
stuff.
way there. They just
Yeah.
need like some confirmation.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's like a perfect system.
It's phenomenal.
Anyway, I think back to the moral of this question. I think influencer marketing definitely has its place. I think it's not always crazy obvious. I think certainly probably in the last year, one thing that really sticks out to me is like makeup brands have gotten insanely good at influencer marketing, not just getting like some crazy influencer like Love Island or whatever to be like, look, I use this. Like it's getting even influencers who aren't like on camera. They just have like a TikTok account where they make ASMR or something and they just put their product in there and then suddenly it's in front of all these eyeballs and people just like the way it looks and that's all you really need. Like,
the traditional way of promoting a product has changed.
yeah, it's just not, it's not the thing anymore. And I think it is obvious, especially now with ad labels. And even like comedy videos, there's so many like people who kind of work a product into like a comedy sketch and things on TikTok. There's just so many ways that you can
You might not have
get
realised
done.
it too, but since the 1950s, movies have been putting this stuff in, like into all
product
their
placement,
scenes
yeah.
and things. Like cigarettes was a massive one around the 1970s and 1980s, where they made sure the cigarette companies paid millions of dollars so that the big actors would be smoking on screen, and that would influence people to smoke too because they thought
crazy.
it was cool. So I think, influencers definitely got their place. And if you are a small business looking at how do I find an influencer? How do I know where to start? There are actually influencer agencies now out there. There's a few of them. We work with about 4 of them. And you can go in and choose the categories of what you want, and you can determine how they be paid. Are they paid based on video that they publish or based on commission?
Yeah.
So, they have like a discount code, and every time they use the discount code, they get a kickback. And sometimes all they want is credit back on your own store, or they might want cash through a PayPal account. So there's lots of ways to do it.
And depending on your brand, like when your brand's kind of starting out, it's not a good way. But if you've got like a massive brand, sometimes you can just send things to influencers if you have those contacts, and then just,
especially if they're starting up. If they've got a good viewership and they've got your target audience, and you're like, I just need products, I want to make videos.
And that's where your PR comes in. Yeah, but I think in terms of getting started with it, influencer agencies, they know about people you don't even know about, like these sections of the internet that you would never even come across because there's too much of it to even know now. I think it's a good strategy to get in front of the right people. Yeah.
Insights in Emily. Well done.
Insights.
All right, let's flick across. What questions have you got for me?
How can companies ensure that their digital strategy aligns with their overall business goals without becoming siloed?
It's challenging. It's really challenging, especially because if your business goals are to, like, if they're really basic, make more money, like get your brand out there.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of wriggle room.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that you either talk to a business specialist or someone that can understand your vision or your goals and really define that properly. If you don't have that, everything else is going to fail. So let's say, as an example, we've got one of our clients that we met up with breakfast this morning. She's got a side hustle as an interior designer. As an interior designer, you obviously want to get clients when you're starting up. You want to make interesting things or create interesting things for people from an interior design point of view. And you want to have the flexibility to do it your way. And that means that those kind of things have to be the value of your target audience as well. So how do you find those people? That's hard. That's really hard. And again, it's going back and having a look at these people. What are the other interests? What are their hobbies? What do they want to get out of it? What are their main pain points and motivations for working with someone? And just talking to other people, talking to other industries and seeing what their input is too. Really define that out as part of your strategy. And you might have 3 or 4 different target audiences. Create your website thinking of that. Have a look at all the different types of other websites or your competitors out there that you like, that you think are similar to you. And then you would do a search optimization keyword discovery, which we can help out with if you need to. And from there, you can start to piece together what kind of words, what kind of personality, what kind of tone. And that's where, it's really good to define like a celebrity persona for your business, something that you know, or if someone else works with you, as soon as you just say that celebrity's name, you understand value, morals, characteristics, personality, behaviour, that kind of thing. So I used to always think of us as like the Harvey Specter of digital agencies, but now I've kind of steered, I haven't told you about this, I'm starting to steer more towards the Roger Federer in his later years. Apparently he was a bit of a hothead. One of our project managers, Flo, was saying that he used to be like smashing rackets and he was really aggressive.
I didn't know that.
No, neither.
He's like a family man, good vibes.
Yeah, it's almost like he's never done anything wrong.
Yeah, that's what I think.
He's got great kids.
PR's on board.
Yeah, he's really successful. He's inspirational, that kind of thing. So that's where, like now that I've said that, you kind of get an idea of what we're aiming to be and who we are. And we want to be friendly and approachable and we're not, cockheads or anything like that. We're really just easygoing. I know it's the wrong word.
Why are we Roger Federer, not Leighton Hewitt, is the question. He's
because
the exact
we're not doing
same.
this kind of stuff.
Is that okay? I was thinking Leighton Hewitt's like the same but Australian.
Yeah, he talks really fast and he's really weird. And
Okay. I don't think about Leighton Hewitt, obviously.
But I know, like he's really like you look at Roger and he's just you just want to give him a cuddle, don't you?
Yeah.
So I think it's really, before you do anything, define who you are, define who you're targeting, and then define what you can offer for these people that is against what you want to do as a job. And then, rather than silo yourself and be like everybody else, every other agency, you really need to stand out somehow. And I think that's what we want to do. Like if we go back to ourselves as a business, we are the place in which you can get digital ecosystems, and all the creative and code is done here in Australia by people that live here, and the communication and the output is so much better.
In a world filled with noise and distractions, how do you recommend companies maintain focus on their digital goals?
We find it hard too. As
And
an agency.
we're a digital agency. If
Yeah.
we find it hard too.
Yeah, everyone's finding it hard. Not because it is hard, but because the world moves so fast.
Yeah.
And you're trying to keep up from an innovation point of view, messaging, technology, offering. There's so much. Like, for instance, ChatGPT's been out for a couple of years now, but there's all
No,
these
not
other...
even like a year,
Really?
right? Like we're
Probably a year and a half. or
not
something,
even
maybe.
on, like it's like a year.
Isn't that scary?
I know.
But now there are new tools using artificial intelligence, and they are off the charts. Like, some of our coders aren't actually coding; they're prompting instead. You're looking at how old ChatGPT is. It's probably been around for a couple of years.
Maybe it has been a couple of
But
years.
usage, yeah, I'd say about a year or so. You might be
Yeah, I
right
feel like
there.
public, like, I don't know, like a year.
But yeah, marketing strategy is, I think you'll always have the same strategy, but it's how you execute it that's going to be different every time. For instance, our strategy is to get people that we want to work with that understand and value what digital is, and understand that we are people, that we do have our weekends to ourselves and our nights, that we'll bust our guts during the day and make sure we give everything we can to our clients, and to keep our client list as minimal as possible, because we don't want to grow our business to be huge. But that's not my goal. I want to make sure we get to maybe 13 or 15 people. That's the ultimate max. But we're working with great clients. We can pick and choose the projects that we want to work on. And it's a great feeling to know that you do have all this work coming in, and if it doesn't suit, or if you've got that sixth sense about things, you can go, I'm sorry, I don't think we're going to work really well together, and recommend them elsewhere. And it's nice. And I think that really helps our market or our audience understand, all right, these guys are great at what they do. They're loyal, and most of our clients have been with us for years and years and years, and they come back. And that just shows that what we do is hopefully better than everyone else. So that's our main marketing strategy. That's our messaging. And yeah, we keep up with innovation, and we make sure that they've got the right technology. We upgrade their systems. We keep them pumping. We let them know about any innovation that's coming, and they love that. So once you're in, you're in. And it's kind of like a subscription model that you don't have to pay for, but it's hard not to be a part of. And I think that's our marketing strategy. The way then we push those messages out, which is what I'm dealing with right now. I really want to then refocus and have a look at the kind of things that we want to be doing, asking the team the kind of work that we want to do, and then going out and hunting for it. We don't have to hunt because the work is there, but sometimes you just want to go out and find work that you've always wanted to work on.
Well, I think that's also, we do have projects we work on that, maybe particularly aren't everyone's favourite in terms of either industry or the type of work it is, or the technology or things like that. So
And
I guess
also,
being able to
team members come and go with some of our clients as
yeah.
well. And sometimes you just don't have the right mix anymore.
Well, that's
and that's
it, yeah.
fine. Like, you just go, oh, it's not working.
Yeah.
So,
And I think in situations like that, it's when you kind of go, well, we could just replace, that's the kind of client that we want to kind of replace with a client with the technology we do like, or an industry we do like.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
So even though the schedule's full, there is opportunity there to pigeonhole a little bit more into the kind of things you actually want to do versus just,
And we've had that. We had that recently, and we're not going to name names, but we had a client that we were working with for quite a while, and we were hand-holding their kind of role and what they were supposed to be doing within the work. So we would do all the creative and everything. It was up to them to then put that onto Meter and whatever and publish it and run the campaign and do A/B testing, etc. But we found, as we were going, we were spending so much time, well, you were spending a lot of time on that, training and helping and answering questions on things that they should have known as part of their role. And then their manager changed, and they said, all right, what can you tell me about this person? How are they going? And again, we have to be honest and have to say, oh, look, we've done a bit of hand-holding. It's fine. We don't want to have to charge you for it, but this is what's happening. And I think being honest is a good thing.
Well, I think in situations like that, it can be really hard, especially when you kind of build up relationships with clients. And at the end of the day, we do have a list of the work we complete in order to fulfill a contract and fulfill what, the time we were allocated. And sometimes that does kind of reveal things a little bit to the higher ups at client side that maybe they don't like. It's happened with some other clients too, where we kind of, do a lot more assisting than maybe the bosses and things would like. But I think that is more of like like we just do what, we help as much as we can, we
Yeah.
put it on the books, and then like our hands are, if someone asks a question, like we give you the answer.
And
like,
I'm
that's
glad
it,
that
right?
the management level of the people that we work with, or if they're in management, their superiors are asking about how things are going, how are they performing, because we want to give them feedback so that we can have a better experience. But sometimes, like we've learnt, some of these managers find that a way to exit people as well. If they've...
Yeah, it can be a hard line to walk in that, you have to be honest, but then like what's the impact on the client and their team? And I think it's an interesting one, especially when like people hire us because we're the experts in these things, and they maybe expect that we'll be able to provide more insight than we kind of is built into our hours or our contract. Like,
Exactly. And if we're going over 3 or 4 hours sometimes per month on these things,
it starts to
adds
get
up.
a little bit, and that could just be, if I'm spending 15 minutes every so often,
That's fine.
over a month, like doing that, it adds up if that's, that's happening over and over and over. And it does tend to happen. I mean, across various different clients, and a lot of them, sometimes they are willing to like take that on the chin and be like, we want you to actually be able to work with our like team and teach them things, but then sometimes they don't want that, but that still ends up happening. So
And
it
a
can
lot
be
of our clients,
it's
even
a
some of
weird
the
one.
councils that we work with, have actually asked, they've gone, we know we suck at what we do, we need training. And we give them the training, and they love it, and then they
And
end
they
up
can-
making a couple of little adjustments, but then they realise and recognise how challenging it is to do some of the
Yeah.
things that we do. So it's insightful and educational, but most of the time they come back and they say,
Exactly.
look, I
Well, I
understand.
think it becomes one of those things that like, like you say, there's a lot that goes into this. I thought that maybe, I could just learn this and then be able to do it myself in like an hour. No. So, I think it's one of those things you kind of don't really know how much you know until you...
Exactly. Like, I'm never going to sit down and
Sure.
pretend I can code websites or...
Oh, really?
No. No. Email signatures, yes, that's okay. But yeah.
What's the weirdest or most unexpected thing that's impacted the agency's strategy over the years?
Ooh.
Like, have you gotten a random client that's completely steered you in a different direction than you kind of expected?
Okay, I'm going to say 2 things,
Okay.
right? One is client side, one is employee side, right?
Jesus.
So on the client side, we had a long-term client when we were around our 10 to 15 year mark, and they were horrible. They were so horrible.
No other way to put it, yeah.
No, it was a really wealthy guy who loved the power, and we put up with it because we wanted the work.
Yeah.
And we would, we'd go to his office, and he wouldn't be there. For a meeting that we allocated, he ticked that he would be there.
Yeah.
And we would tell his receptionist, he's not too far away. So they would call him up, and he said, I'm not far away.
Okay.
An hour later, we're still waiting.
Oh, God.
And I remember he would open up the door to his office, and we'd be sitting there in reception, and he'd see us, walk past us, sit down. He would have something to eat. Well, I'm sure he did something. He might have opened up and checked his emails first. And then he would call his receptionist. I could hear everything because it was all open doors.
Yeah.
Yep, get him to come in. She'd go, yep, his name is ready for you. And we'd go in and we'd sit down. He's like eating something. Hi, guys, how you doing? No apology, no nothing. Knew farewell that we'd been there forever. And he goes, all right, what do you got to show me? And we'd show him what he'd asked for, and we'd put wireframes together and all this kind of stuff. And he'd be like, that's not what I asked for. Because he had a memory issue as well. And we're like, what? This is what you asked for? He's like, nah, you know what? I don't even need it anymore. Don't worry about it. And this was in 5 minutes. And he's like, nah, I've decided against it. Thank you anyway. Bye.
You spent all the time doing the work and then sitting there for over an hour waiting for him.
Yeah.
And then, it's
And then
just
you'd
dead.
be like, oh my God, like, I don't even know if he's going to pay my bill.
Yeah.
And if I send it to him, he's going to be angry.
Yeah.
And he might get his lawyers onto it and cause more time that, and so... And then, funnily enough, 3 or 4 hours after that, he'd call up and say, I've reconsidered, come in tomorrow. And you do the whole
wasted
thing
another,
again.
like 4 hours doing that. Yeah. Oh my God.
So it took a long time for us to we put up with that for a long time. And then I think one day we just snapped and said, you know what, we can't do it. And we thought, how's the best way? Because we don't want to say that we're quitting, firing him as a client, or we don't want to work with you anymore. because he'd be like, you've got all my IP, you've got all this, you need to send it, blah, blah, blah. He'd get angry. So we just started quoting double, triple. And I think one of the times that we quoted double, he accepted it. So it kind of became bittersweet. We did the work.
Yeah,
and
it was
even though we
horrible,
knew it
but
was
then-
double, we knew there was
yeah.
some time of painful client tax or whatever you want to call it. And then, we decided one day we just couldn't do it. And we tripled it, quadrupled it. And he's like, you're too expensive for me. I'm like, I'm sorry, these are our rates now. If you don't like it, see you later. And he went, see you later. So...
mission accomplished.
Yeah. So, and again, we wouldn't do that to any one of our clients unless you were an absolute pain in the neck for years and years and years. The other one...
I mean, years and years and years. Like, realistically, if, say, when this client, you'd had him for like 2 years or whatever, and you dealt with it that whole time, and then you're in the position you are in now where you can pick and choose your clients a bit more, would you then cut him? Even, if he was consistently
without
terrible
naming
and
names
hadn't reached
again,
that back.
because I don't want to hurt anybody, but we've had one even this year that was a pain. And rather than 3 revisions, it was 10. If someone wants this space. It was 10, and we got there eventually, and now it's become better. I think we let them know that this isn't the way to do it in the future, and that was all good. But the other one, which I'll quickly touch on, if we got time, is bad eggs in your workforce as well.
Shit, why'd you look directly at me when you said that? Guess I'll leave.
You're an okay egg.
Thank you. That's touching.
But yeah, there was about a year and a half as well where we hired someone and it was like a virus. It was.
Infected everybody.
Because they came in and they interviewed really well and got into it, and I really don't think they had the skills or experience that they put on their resume. The interview process went well, they started, they seemed to know what they were doing.
You can get so far with just a bit of charisma, just like pretending you know what the hell's going on.
Totally.
Yeah.
I remember I asked for a specification to be done for a financial planning website. Took 70 hours, which it should have taken about 7.
Oh my gosh.
Red flags went up. I started to ask, how did this take 70 hours? Can you show me what you did so I can understand? And he just threw the paper at me and said, have a read. This is what I've done for you. And then I responded saying, this isn't great. This has nothing to do with what we're actually doing. And then because of that, he started to then try and, get more of the team on his side. And it became a them versus me kind of approach. And it was horrible. It was really bad. So people would, relate. And he'd obviously, like you said before, was charismatic. And we knew what to say to get people in, on his side.
Yeah, for sure.
And after a year and a half, I think he got over it and quit. And
at least he
that was
quit,
one of the
rather than you having
one
to
of the best days. Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess at what point with an employee like that, like you dealt with it for a year and a half, like at what point, say if he was like, brilliant, I've got the life here, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm getting paid and I got this job, whatever, at what point do you actually go, this is not working?
Well, you have to. And as a small business, you do have entitlements for things such as exiting between 6 to 12 months. You really have to take that on. You have to really performance manage people like that, set KPIs, do warnings, final warnings. You just follow
like
the book
process.
and how to do it. Yeah. And it has to be, you have to have evidence, and there's a whole range of stuff. But if you, and I do it a lot, I write everything down. If I feel like this is like, that doesn't sit well, just write a note, and at least you can refer back to those notes if ever there's a problem, and you'll be the one that's best prepared. I hear it in some of our clients as well. They have nightmare problems with some of their staff. And I think, it's just making sure that you hit it on the head as quickly as you can. Because, that long 1.5 years, I remember it. I'd be worried at night. I'm like, how am I going to deal with this? And you've just got to performance manage.
I guess, is that just like the experience you get after now running the agency for 23 years? Do you think you're better equipped to handle situations like that where you have a horrible client or a horrible employee, you're like more willing to actually make that call earlier?
Yeah, I've learned so much, and that's been about 8 years since we had that person working with us. And I think now, the team are great. I think we've really understood the culture that we're trying to achieve. We all had lunch today sitting in one of the corners. There's Flo, one of the corners of the atrium here, I guess you could call it, just talking crap. And it felt like a family, and it was great. It feels good. I know I can, after this, I've got to finish at 4. I know I can go home. I know everyone's going to be doing their job and they've got things to do and they'll be having a laugh where they can, and that's absolutely fine. I think it's so important that you feel responsible but flexible.
So does that all build into just coming back to the question?
That's that Roger Federer
the
thing,
actual,
yeah.
like the strategy of the agency, I guess, is that like the cornerstones of it, essentially, like good people.
It's making sure people feel like they can talk about anything that they want to, feel like they've got a voice and an opinion. And that's why we do retros every 2 weeks. I think, you had the idea to bring stand-up into a kind of stand-up channel instead of doing it for half an hour. It's so much more efficient.
45 minutes to an hour when you've got 10 people in the team.
And you might know, I know Flo does, but I go back and have a look, what did Emily say she was doing today? I've got to ask her to do this and whatever. So it just helps because you can't remember everything that everyone said if you're doing a stand-up.
Oh, exactly. And when we were having stand-ups for 45 minutes to an hour, everyone just like was doing other things.
Yeah.
Like you weren't even listening.
Yeah, you watch. I saw Ali's on the, getting on with his
everyone's
work
got things
or
to
whatever.
do. So I feel like, it was like negating the entire point of having them. So at least now there's written proof that, you said you were going to do something or whatever. And
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting that would kind of be the cornerstone of the business in terms of strategy is, having the people at the core of it.
I think people is, like in any business, you're going to find that the people that you've got make your business, your day, your success, everything.
That's me.
And as much as I know a lot of my clients or our clients would love to have no employees.
Who would like that?
Because as much as they are an essential part of the business, they are also one of your most expensive parts as well.
Oh, of course.
And they're expensive because they're worth it if you have the right people.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. And you start to realise if you're like, you don't have 8 hands. You can't do it all. Yeah, exactly.
And you need
And then if you're like, oh, well, it's okay. Like, I can get good people for minimum wage or whatever. And you start to realise that, oh, no, you can't.
Minimum wage means minimum effort, which means minimum output.
Exactly.
And it doesn't
and
work
you start
for
to realise, I guess the investment is actually worth it. Interesting.
There you go. Well, that's insights for a marketing perspective and a strategic business perspective.
Do you feel like you've been hard hit with the questions from
ChatGPT? It's been nice. I think they are interesting, hard questions, but at the same time, I think we've got a good grip on who we are, what we want to do. We just need to let more people know that we exist and grow that team to about 15. We're at 9 or 10 or 11 or something like that. 10.
Okay, you don't know. There's only 10 of us. It's not that hard to count.
It's all these desks and members and anyway.
There's 10 of us.
Yeah. Grow up to that and be picky with our clients and make sure we deliver perfectly. That's our aim.
Wow, that could be like
I think what we should do is
a line.
If anyone has listened all the way to here, which is about your 55-minute mark, questions, we'll open up the comments on Spotify as well as YouTube. So if you have any questions, we'll do another one of these hard quiz question things in a couple of weeks.
And we should do an actual hard quiz episode.
That'd be good.
You can ask me about One Direction.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that too. Sounds good.
I'll put a question in the comments too.
Coming up in the guests that have confirmed, Annalise McCarthy.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah, so she's in Sydney at the moment. She's trying to figure out when she can get here. So that'll be hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Anthony for a big night online. We have someone from the Commons in Cremorne that is a HubSpot specialist that's coming along that does all the CRM side of stuff. So it'll be good to get her insight. And we tried Beck from VMCH. She didn't want to be a part of it.
A lot of people don't want to be part of it.
And Cliff, who is the main founder of the Commons, which is all the co-working spaces in Australia, he's all over the place too. He's wanting to be on it.
Yeah, everyone's so busy. It does take a surprising amount of effort just to get people for an hour. People are stacked full in their cows.
Yeah, but it's amazing. There's so many people willing to come on the podcast, and even Ian, that was on last time, the developer, he wants to come back and do another one.
Nice.
So he said he enjoyed it, which was nice.
One where the mic is working.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Ian.
Sorry, Ian.
All right, well, that's it for another podcast.
Cool.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Creative and Code podcast.
That's all, folks.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and found it as inspiring and entertaining as we did. Remember, there are plenty more episodes to explore, so make sure you keep listening for more creative insights and coding tips. A big shout out to our amazing sponsors and the team at ID Digital Agency for making this podcast possible. Got a story to share or want to be a guest on our show? We'd love to hear from you. Send us a 2-minute or less audio clip to creativeencode@iddigital.com.au. Suggestions, ideas, or just want to say hi, we're all ears. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, stay creative and keep coding.